with the Michigan Wolverines, and another former Wolverine quarterback, now the head coach, Jim Harbaugh, saying TB12 is in a class of his own. Take a listen.
Tom Brady is the greatest football player to ever play. When you can play that good, that consistently great, year after year after year after year, game after game after game after game, I mean, nobody's ever done it. Nobody's ever done it like Tom Brady is. He's the best of all time.
Okay, Max Kellerman,
Yeah.
is it fair to say that Harbaugh knows a thing or two about quarterbacks?
Sure.
Okay, so he's calling Brady the greatest player ever.
Yep.
Do you concur?
I don't. You have a hell of a case for Brady, but he wouldn't be my greatest ever. Now, he's the greatest quarterback of all time, as I've been saying on this show, even before they made yet another Super Bowl. You have to give it up. Look at the resume. That is tied somewhat to Bill Belichick. I think Bill Belichick is more responsible for the Patriots' success than anyone, but Brady is second most responsible. And the bottom line is you can't separate them because they were together.
I thought Deion shut that down yesterday.
No, Deion shuts a lot of guys down, but not that. The fact is they did work together, and these were the results, and that's what happened. Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time. It's not a big jump to say if you're the greatest ever at the greatest position, you're also the greatest player of all time, so they have a hell of an argument there. Here's the thing. If you try to isolate the greatness of a player apart from the influence of the team, the coaches, the offensive line in the case of a quarterback, receivers, what have you, then you're talking about individual players who were most independently great, meaning wherever you would have put them, they'd have balled the same way. I think there are two players on my list ahead of Brady. The greatest player I've ever seen is Lawrence Taylor.
Okay.
Now, interestingly, his linebackers coach for the first 4 or 5 years of his career was Bill Belichick. His defensive coordinator for the next 4 or 5 years of his career was Bill Belichick. So if you say, hey, it's not fair, you say Belichick discounts Brady, what about Lawrence Taylor? I think then the other pick is Jim Brown. Jim Brown was dominating the league at a time, I don't know if any other position player ever dominated the league independent of anything else around him the way Jim Brown did in his era. So I put those two guys ahead of him, but you have a hell of a case for Brady.
I appreciate your Ivy League education and the way you pontificate on so many things. Having said that, I am not giving that kind of, as much as I love and idolize Jim Brown, I am not giving that kind of love to an individual who performed before I was born, and I'm older than you.
Boy, that's narcissism.
Damn right, it's ageism. Call it whatever you want. I ain't doing it. And my point is, if I'm not doing it, you damn sure better not do it because you're younger than me. That's the bottom line. You never saw Jim Brown. All you're going by is what you've read and what you've heard people say and a little bit of clips, which were, by the way, in black and white. Let's stop it. I love Jim Brown. Good God bless him. I appreciate the reverence he deserves, but damn it, he was doing it before I was born. I don't recall.
What are you going to say to the people who didn't see Michael Jordan?
Listen.
What are you going to say to the people who didn't see Michael Jordan?
Good one, Max.
Well, technology has elevated. And as a result, color, television, DVDs, all of that. There's plenty of footage to go back and watch Michael Jordan. I'm not sure that's the case with Jim Brown. Now let me get back to my point. I agree with you about Lawrence Taylor because of the impact and the fear that he instilled. But there's another point. I'm a Montana guy, even though I give Brady love, and he's absolutely phenomenal. I'm a Montana guy, and here's why I'm a Montana over Brady guy. Yes, Montana had Walsh, but Brady had Belichick. He had Belichick much longer. The thing that resonates with me, that bothers me, that never gets mentioned about Brady, he lost to the Giants once. He lost to the Giants twice. He should have lost the third time to the Seattle Seahawks if it wasn't for the worst call in Super Bowl history by Pete Carroll and Darrell Bevell deciding to throw a damn pass over the middle instead of giving Beast Mode the ball at the half-yard line when the previous play, he went from the 5-yard line to the half-yard line, which is a 4.5-yard carry with the game on the line. Give him the damn ball again. The fact that they messed up and made the most idiotic call in NFL history as far as I'm concerned. I love Pete Carroll, but my God, that was just beyond stupid to make that call. In the end, that is my problem. I look at Tom Brady, and at the end of the day, I legitimately look at 2 Super Bowl losses and what should have been 3 Super Bowl losses, which means that it would be right now 13 years since Tom Brady had won a Super Bowl. And that's what it is.
You're making a
and that's
classic
what it is
mistake.
to me.
This is why, although at this point, Brady, the reason Brady's the greatest of all time at the position is because he has the Joe Montana intangibles argument that Montana had against Marino because Montana won all the Super Bowls. And just like you know, he also has the Derek Jeter over A-Rod argument, like, I have all the championships.
Well, it works.
It was always Peyton versus Brady. Peyton had the numbers, Brady had the chips. Now Brady has Peyton numbers and the chips. It's tough to argue against them. But people like Molly, slightly, you can't totally overrate Brady, but I believe slightly overrate Brady because it's a team.
He's never won a Super Bowl with an all-pro receiver, and I'm tired of the Bill Belichick.
Because he didn't win.
He's a defensive-minded coach.
But the only reason he didn't win with an all-pro receiver is because he didn't win when he had Randy Moss and went undefeated because the Giants beat him. So it's a misleading stat.
But
the point is,
set a ton of records that year when he had Randy Moss.
Yeah, right, but they lost the Super Bowl. The point is, it's a fact.
He's been to 7
The point
Super
is,
Bowls.
right, it's a
7.
It's a team sport. And Brady gets extra credit for being on a great team, which he has a lot to do with, but so does his coach. So does Montana. It's
You're
not
confusing me.
It's not
Great
Brady's
team.
fault. Montana was on a great team with a great coach, so he won a lot of Super Bowls. You're giving him credit for that. It's not the same thing as in basketball, where if you're on a crewed-up team and you're the best player, you're supposed to win. In football, it doesn't work
All right,
like that.
well, wait a minute. But here would be my retort. Montana had Rice. He had an all-world receiver. He won with them. Tom Brady had an all-world receiver in Randy Moss. He lost with them. But he's won with lesser quality receivers than Randy Moss.
Making Chris Hogan a star right now.
Well, listen, where dare I say Mollywood, you have to calm down.
Okay.
You have to calm down.
I thought I shut this argument down with my final take, but clearly not so.
Here's where you need to calm down, Mollywood.
I'll breathe.
You act like we're insulting Tom Brady because we did have the gall to mention that we might prefer Joe Montana. I mean, my Lord, it's not like we're talking about him against Jay Cutler. We're talking about Joe Montana.
Montana went 4-0 in the Super Bowl.
I'm just saying.
Brady's lost some Super Bowls. And let's not forget, in the first half of Brady's career, the kind of quarterback he was in the Super Bowl was he gets you in field goal range, and Vinatieri would take care of it for you. Like, that's what the reputation was.
Yeah, that's what his reputation.
That's what it was. It was like, well, yeah, you got Vinatieri on your team to kick the game-winning field goal. You just got to get in field goal range. That was also unfair to Brady because he helped get him in field goal range. The point is, Molly, it's a team sport, and Brady deserves a ton of credit, but not too much.
Well, listen, we all know it's a team sport, but what we can't forget is this. We call Michael Jordan the greatest. Michael Jordan don't have the most rings. That would be Bill Russell. But we know it's MJ, don't we? And then, by the way, we also have an individual in Kareem Abdul-Jabbar who has just as many rings as Michael Jordan, scored more points than Michael Jordan in his career, okay? Not only had more all-star appearances, lasted longer, and also not only happens to be the all-time leading scorer in NBA history, but the one individual with the most unstoppable move in the history of the sport. And we don't call him the greatest. So when y'all bring up Brady, and we talk about how many Super Bowl appearances, and we talk about all of this other stuff, y'all are acting like, oh, the appearances and his greatness, that does it all. And I'm saying, wait a minute, Montana, there's something to be said for being unblemished in multiple championship games appearances. Montana is undefeated.
I don't want to have two arguments at once. The problem is I'm arguing with you about Brady and you about Montana. I want to stay to the Brady.
Yeah, especially when you lose
Montana.
I'm
somehow beating you both easily.
We haven't. That's what the problem is. But go ahead.
The point is that you're saying he's unblemished, when the blemishes aren't exactly Brady's fault. It's not like he played poorly against great Giants.
Oh, no, wait a minute.
In those two games.
You were 18-0. You went undefeated during the regular season. You won the 2 playoff games to get to the Super Bowl. When you got to the Super Bowl, keep in mind, they had arguably the most prolific offense in NFL history at the time. Brady threw 50 touchdowns. Randy Moss scored about 23 or 24 touchdowns. And when Tom Brady was asked about being limited to X number of points,
he laughed about it.
Hold on, wait a minute. I'm getting to your point. He laughed about it, and then that's exactly what happened to him. That counts against you. When you laughed about, you're going to hold us to 17 points. Okay, and they got shut down.
Actually, had he scored 17 points, they'd have been in overtime.
There you go.
Even score 17 points. But if you watched the game,
you got to hold that against him.
He played well. You are attributing team success. You're putting it all on the quarterback.
You're damn right.
All of it. I have a question.
14 points?
I have a question. So you would rather have Joe Montana, you would rather have somebody be 4-0 than go to 7 Super Bowls?
Yes.
Okay, you'd rather have a perfect record than 7 trips.
Perfection in multiple appearances matters to me. I understand that Tom Brady has been to 7 Super Bowls. I appreciate that as a Patriots fan. But when I'm measuring greatness, I'm thinking in the biggest moment, the biggest stage, you are undefeated. That resonates with me, which is why we held it against LeBron, because LeBron had lost titles.
Let's say that you give it to Montana that he was more clutch in the Super Bowl. I think I agree with that, actually. Montana was more clutch than Brady in the Super Bowl. So does clutchness in the Super Bowl the only thing that matters? Because it's not as though Brady hasn't been clutch.
Well, first of all, don't get slick. You use the operative word. Hold it. You use the operative word.
That's the way it is.
You know I'm not saying only. I'm saying primary. In other words, you and I have debated on several occasions, and you and I as well, Molly Wood. I have repeatedly said, listen, this is my experience as a reporter for 24 years, covering 20 finals and all of this other stuff. I literally find myself looking at games. I have seen key moments where palms get sweaty, backsides get tight, because dudes panic when the pressure mounts. I ain't gonna call out anybody's names because I'm in a good mood, but trust me, it has happened. And I'm telling you right now, when somebody steps up in those key clutch moments and they show you that this don't even faze me, do you understand who I am and what this moment is? That matters.
I agree.
Especially when you're unblemished. It matters.
You remember when they used to have to take Joe Montana off the field in a stretcher playing the Giants in
the Super Bowl.
In the NFC Championship game. So if the Giants were in the other division, they'd have lost the Super Bowl.
All right.
Nah, that's injuries. That's injuries.
We got to keep it moving.
Injuries because they were getting at Montana.
Brady didn't show up offensively to the degree that they did when they lost the first Super Bowl to the Giants.
Because who were they playing?
Fact.
They were both playing the Giants. Just one played in the same conference. That's the only difference.
Okay.
They both lost to the Giants.
Let's leave it there, guys. We want to get into the NBA. So will Brady get his 5th ring? We want you guys to weigh in. Go on our First Take Twitter page and vote #FTSuperPick. We want to hear from you, and we will track those and share them a little later. And a big show planned for you all. 2 Hall of Famers in the house. Barry Sanders, Marshall Faulk. We cannot wait. Also ahead, Isaiah Thomas dropped 44 on the Raptors in a win. Is it time to start including him in the MVP combo? We get into all of it.